Hello, my dear friend. How are you today? Welcome once again to another episode where we dive together into the Gospel according to Spiritism. Today, we continue with the introduction, exploring the third section called Historical Notes. And let me tell you, this part is fascinating because it reveals the social, political, and religious background of the biblical passages where Jesus lived and taught. Have you ever read about the Samaritans, the Publicans, or the Pharisees and wondered, who were these people really? It's so easy to skim through those terms without truly understanding what they meant back then. But once we uncover who they were and what role they played in society, the teachings of Jesus gain an entirely new depth and clarity. To truly understand the Gospels, it's not enough to just read the words. We need to know the culture, the mindset, and the daily life of the Jewish people in that era. Many words lost their original meaning over time and were misinterpreted, which created confusion and even distorted ideas. By revisiting the historical context, those mysterious phrases that seemed strange or even contradictory suddenly make perfect sense. So, let's begin this journey. Let's start with the Samaritans. After the division of Israel into tribes, Samaria became the capital of the northern kingdom. Over time, it was destroyed and rebuilt several times, and during the Roman period it was renamed Sebaste in honor of Emperor Augustus. The Samaritans were in constant conflict with the Jews of Judah. There was a deep-rooted hatred between them, fueled mainly by religious differences. To avoid traveling to Jerusalem for worship, the Samaritans built their own temple and accepted only the Pentateuch, the Law of Moses, rejecting the other sacred books. To the Orthodox Jews, they were heretics, despised and shunned. Now, doesn't it make more sense why Jesus would use the example of the Good Samaritan in his parable? He intentionally chose someone rejected by Jewish society to demonstrate compassion beyond prejudice. Moving on to the Nazarenes. Long before it was used for the followers of Jesus of Nazareth, the term Nazarene already existed. It referred to Jews who made special vows to live in purity, abstain from alcohol, and let their hair grow. Samson, Samuel, and John the Baptist were Nazarenes. It was only later that the early Christians were called this way because of Jesus. And what about the publicans? Under the Roman Empire, they were the tax collectors, responsible for gathering revenue for Rome. Many of them became wealthy through dishonest practices, and naturally, the Jewish people despised them. Paying taxes to the occupying empire felt humiliating and even against their faith. So a publican was seen as a traitor. Now you can imagine how shocking it was when Jesus dined with a publican or treated them with dignity. He was breaking social barriers, teaching love and forgiveness that went far beyond human prejudices. There were also the toll collectors or lower-level tax gatherers, similar to customs officers today. They too carried the same stigma. Then we have the Pharisees, a very influential religious group among the Jews. They were known for their strict observance of the law and their outward displays of holiness. But often, their spirituality was superficial, full of pride and hypocrisy. That's why Jesus called them hypocrites. He saw through their masks. Another important group was the scribes. They were the scholars of the law of Moses, but they also served as the copyists of sacred texts. In a time when very few people could read or write, those who controlled the scriptures held tremendous power. And imagine how easily they could twist interpretations to serve their own interests. There were also the Sadducees, who denied the immortality of the soul, resurrection, and even the existence of angels. They focused solely on the material world. On the other hand, there were the Essenes, who lived in peaceful communities, sharing their possessions, practicing simplicity, and rejecting violence and slavery. Their lifestyle was strikingly similar to that of the early Christians. It's not hard to imagine that Jesus, during his youth, might have encountered their teachings or even learned from them. When you look at this fragmented, politically charged, and deeply divided society, it becomes easier to understand why Jesus constantly challenged the religious leaders of his time. His message of truth and love exposed hypocrisy, injustice, and corruption. He wasn't killed simply because of sin or doctrine. He was silenced because he confronted both the oppressive political system and the rigid, self-serving religious hierarchy. See how much clearer the gospel becomes when we know the historical backdrop? Understanding who the Samaritans, Nazarenes, Publicans, Pharisees, Scribes, and others were helps us grasp the full meaning of Jesus' actions and teachings. In the next episode, we'll move on to the final section of the introduction, exploring Socrates and Plato as forerunners of Christian and Spiritist thought. You'll be surprised how their philosophies connect with these spiritual truths. Thank you for being here with me today. I hope this reflection helps you see the gospel with fresh eyes. Until next time, take care and see you soon.